All right, guys, welcome to Math for Today. We're almost kind of in the face right here, but go ahead and get out these pages for me. You are going to need page 89, 91, 93, and 95. So go ahead and take a second to get those pages out. And we're going to be learning something new today. So really get focused, get ready to maybe learn something you have never seen before with our decimals and place values. So go ahead and get out these pages, 89, 91, 93, and 95. All right, I want to go over something here with you. I'm going to zoom in. All right, so I just want you to watch this for now. If you got some scrap paper somewhere, you can write this down as well. And this will definitely help you. So if you've got the back of one of your sheets, so let's see, you can do it from the back on page 96 or on page 92 or 90. So go ahead and look at page 92 and you can do this on the back, this blank white sheet. So let's talk about place value for a second, okay? So here's place value. This is the number 45. All of us know 45, okay? We should know that this is the tens place and this is the ones place. This should not be new to anyone, okay? So we've got 4 tens and 5 ones that make 45. So if we wanted to show that 45, we could show that with 45 of these right here, which are my flats, right? So I would need 1, 2, 3, I would need 45 of them to show 45, okay? Same thing with this one right here, 321. This is my hundreds place, my tens place, and my ones place. Once again, I would need 321 flats. That's a whole lot of flats that I don't have, but that's how I would show that, okay? Now let's take a look at this example, because right now what we see here is something new. We see a decimal in this. So when we're looking at the left-hand side of the decimal, we say just regular number, right? So we would say this one was just like 45 flats, okay? But when we add numbers behind the decimal point, we get into different place value. So if this was the tens and this is the ones, the spot directly after the decimal point is the tenths. Okay, now this can be confusing if you don't look at this carefully. Notice how it's not the tens, it's the tenths. Okay, and the place next to that is the hundredths place. Okay, so we have the tenths and the hundredths that come to the right of the decimal. Now, how do we determine, how do we look at these two places? What do these look like? Well, if these are flats and wholes, think of this, a flat as like $1, okay? This would be $45 or 45 flats. My place to the right of the decimal is smaller than dollars, okay? So my place that's smaller, this is gonna be like dimes. So imagine this with money. If I were to have $45.32, you would get back 4 tens, right? 10, 20, 30, 40. You would get back 5 ones, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You would get 3 dimes and 2 pennies. Well, let's think for a second. In the tenths, it takes 10 dimes to equal $1. So I'm only getting 3 back. In the hundredths, it takes 100 pennies to equal $1. So notice how each time I'm moving to the right, my place value gets smaller and gets smaller. If I asked you which of these numbers would you want to have, you hopefully would tell me the 4. And the reason you would tell me the 4 is because the 4 equals $40. That's the place value. Now, some of you might say, Well, I want the 5. Well, the 5's only $5. So 40 is going to get me a new video game. $5 and give me some snacks, right? Very different amounts of money. Or some of you might say, well, I want the 2. Well, you're going to get 2 little pennies. You're not buying anything with 2 pennies. Or if you get 3 dimes. Maybe buy a piece of gum with 3 dimes? Probably not though, right? So you have to think about the value of each of these numbers. And we're going to take a look as well at the one that comes next to this one. It's even smaller, okay? So here's what I want you to recognize. Your whole numbers, everything to the left of the decimal are flats. And then to the right of the decimal, directly next to it are rods, and directly next to that are units. I'm going to tell you what that means here as we look at this example. All right, so let's take a look. Go ahead and look at page 93. So we're going to take a look at a couple of these examples. I'm going to show you exactly what this means. All right, so on page 93, you see an example here, and it asks you for what number is represented by 3 flats, 7 rods, and 9 units. It says write your answer in decimal notation. So what I did was I went ahead and put my blanks for flats, rods, and units. That's why it's important to know those 3. Flats being my biggest value, rods being my middle, and units being my last value. So if I have 3 flats, I've got 3 holes. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're also going to look at page 89 to help us with this example. Okay, let me zoom out just a little bit. So if I've got 3 flats, that means I've got this whole flat, there's 1. This whole flat, there's 2. And this whole flat, there's 3. Okay, I want you to notice something in each flat. There's 100 little boxes. There's 100 units because 100 cents equals $1. There's also 10 rods, which my rod is my vertical column all the way across because 10 dimes equals $1. So imagine this being $3, 3 flats. Okay, the next thing I've got in my problem is 7 rods. So if I've got my 3 flats total, I'm then going to come to my next picture and I'm going to shade 7 rods. So watch this. All right, there's 1 rod. There's 2. There's 3. 4. 5. 6. And 7. So if you've done it correctly, you'll see 7 of your rods are shaded and 3 are not. Remember, there's 10 rods in each of my flats, so 7 should be shaded and 3 of them will not be shaded. All right, so checked off so far. If you need to pause the video, you can. I've got my 3 flats that are done. I've got my 7 rods that are done. And now I need 9 units. So now I'm going to go here. Remember my units. Let me zoom in. My units are my small boxes here, or my cents, my pennies. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9. So if you want to recount those and show them, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. which means that you're going to have one left over in this rod, and you're going to have 2 rods that have nothing shaded. So when I look at this problem in full, so let me zoom back out. You're going to notice you've got 3 whole pictures that are shaded. So this being 1, 2, and 3. You've got 7 rods that are shaded, and you've got 9 units that are shaded. So I'm going to put each of those in the correct category. And I'm going to get my answer of 3.79. Now, let's talk about that for a second, because being able to say this properly is really important when your teacher calls on you. So if you want to say it the mathematical correct way, now you could say 3.79. That is correct. But if you want to say it and you want to impress your teacher, impress your parents, impress your friends, you're going to say it this way. You're going to say whatever's in front of the decimal. So that's 3. You're just going to say 3. Okay? Then your decimal is the word and. So you're going to say 3, and you're going to say then the whole number after the decimal. So 3 and 79. That's how I say that, 79. And then what place value does it end in? It ends in the 100th place value, 2 places from the decimal. Okay? Let's say that I took this part off. Let's see how that would be different. This problem would then be 3 and 7/10, because it only goes to the first decimal place after the decimal. But since I go 2 decimal places, it goes hundredths. Or if you wanted to say it in money, you could say $3.79. Okay, so there's 3 ways to say a decimal. You could say 3.79. I don't like that one. My students will not be saying that one. They will be saying 3 and 79 hundredths. Or if it is in money, $3.79. All right, let's look at the second example now, because now we get to another place that's outside of our 3 decimal spots. So notice we've got 1 number in front that's going to be our flat, and we've got 3 numbers after the decimal point. So let's look at this carefully. You'll also notice that our grids look like they have a lot more lines, and we're going to show why. So for number 2, we need to cross out 4 flats. That's the easiest part, is the place before the decimal. So 1, 2, 3, 4. So if you want to go ahead and do that, I've already done that here on my paper. If you want to go ahead and cross out your 4 flats, you can. My next number here is 5 in the 10th, or 5 rods. And you can see I've done that here as well. I zoom in just a little bit to show you. So there's 1 rod all the way down, 2 rods, 3, 4, and 5. And I really want you to see this next part. This is the part that's a little bit different. Notice how I have a 0 in my hundredths or my units place. So I'm not going to shade any of my units. So these little small boxes, my units, which look a little bit different, I'm not going to shade any of those. But you see another number, that is the 1,000th place. And we have 8 of those that need to be shaded. So I'm going to zoom way in to show you this. All right, so if you notice something here, I want to show you. On this grid, there are 1,000 of these little squares. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There's 1,000 of those on there. If you want to count all 1,000, then you can, but I'm not going to make you do that. My number says to shade 8 of them. So I'm going to come up here and shade. There's 2. There's 4. I'm going to try to do this really carefully. There's 6. And there's 8, which tells me there's going to be 2 left over in that little unit because there's 10 in each unit, just like down here. Let me see if I can show you. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. There's 10 in each unit. I need to shade 8 of them. So those are what we call our tiny cubes or our tiny units. Okay, so we've got that as well. So what did we do? We did 4 holes, we did 5 rods, we did 0 of our actual units, and we did 8 of our tiny units to get our number here of 4.508, or how would I say this properly? 4 and, now this whole number, 508 thousandths. Thousands, because now I go to the thousandth place. Okay, take a look at number 3. Go ahead and pause this video right here and talk with your teacher about number 3 and see if you agree. Go ahead and pause here and talk about number 3. All right, now you've talked about number 3, you've seen it, you haven't had a conversation about what number 3 is. What you are now going to do is you have got some more here on the back that you're going to look at and talk with your teacher about. Really focusing on number 5. Really good question on number 5 of how each of these are the exact same. And I want you to notice what place is the 3 in on each example. That is why they are the exact same. And then you're going to tell me and you're going to answer the rest of these here. And then you also got some questions here on page 95 that you're going to answer with the times that you see up here using your flats, rods, and units. So good luck, guys. Go ahead and do that now. And I will see you back here tomorrow for our next lesson. Remember, this is the first day we're doing this. It's okay if you don't understand everything. We are just jumping into our decimal place value. All right, go ahead and work on that.